What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time talking a little bit about UnderRail and the future of that IP, as the developer, Stygian Software, recently put out what can largely be considered the final update for UnderRail. Now, for people who follow that game closely, I sincerely doubt this is news to you, but a couple of days ago, on January 31st, Stygian Software released what they are calling the last major free content update for UnderRail, and they are, after this, thus, now, moving basically all of their development resources over to their new project, UnderRail Infusion. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, but right now I want to talk about the last update part of it. While this is supposed to be the last free update, they haven't ruled out doing a small paid DLC in the future for the game. However, they have absolutely no timeline for that, if it happens at all. And moreover, they're probably going to release some small tweaks in the future, but nothing substantial. It would just be small mechanical changes. So now I want to talk a bit about what was actually in this update for UnderRail, maybe along with a little bit of the history of the development of UnderRail itself, and then talk a little bit about Infusion and what I would like to see for that. So development-wise, if you're unaware, UnderRail was in early access in 2012, and then it officially released at the end of 2015, and then it has seen an expansion in 2019, along with many, many updates to the game itself as its life continued on. And it is a very much loved kind of cult classic, if you will, that I personally have reviewed after 100%. It's a fantastic game. It's definitely not for everybody, but it is very good. But the main thing I want to highlight there is just the sheer volume of support that Stygian Software gave UnderRail, because I honestly think that's very commendable. And in many ways, this is kind of a last hurrah for the game, if you will, in many ways. But what was actually included in this last major update? They included a scalable UI available in 3 sizes, which will help out people with different resolutions for sure. And one thing I really thought was cool was that they introduced a new quest line to Core City. So there comes a point in the game in Core City where you basically have to align yourself with one of 3 factions, and they added a new quest line where you can take a more independent route through the city. They also updated pretty much all of the unique weapons and armor to be basically more unique. So up to this point, there were, of course, unique weapons and armor, but they kind of quickly got outpaced by crafted items. So they gave them a bit of a boost to make them more interesting, frankly. You can also save up to 10 action points at the end of your turn to use on your next turn, which is a lot, actually. And then they made a change to the base ability values that is important, but not groundbreaking or anything. So the base cap for like attributes and stuff was 20, actually. Now, the maximum bonus on top of the base value is 10, meaning that your base value can be 10 and then you can get up to 10 in bonuses, which is a subtle change, but nonetheless important. Now, beyond that, the rest of the update is largely changes and fixes to small things. A lot of it is mechanical in nature, like reducing the amount that armor-piercing rounds actually pierce mechanical resistance, that type of stuff. But the rest of it is largely just quality of life stuff that makes playing through it a little bit easier, on top of the addition of quite a few bug fixes. And from there, let's talk a little bit about UnderRail Infusion. So for starters, I'm unsure if the title of their next game is UnderRail Infusion, or if that's just the code name, because in the link they provide, they actually refer to it both ways, as the title and also as a code name. I'm uncertain if the actual title will be UnderRail Infusion, but for now, that's the name of the project. But basically, they describe Infusion as a standalone UnderRail campaign, meaning that it's going to be in the same setting, but it's going to be a standalone title. So, to me, I have a few questions just from that alone, and that is basically that UnderRail actually ends on some pretty big cliffhangers that are, in my opinion, very interesting. I'd love to know more about them. So with this new campaign, I hope that if they don't necessarily directly follow up on the campaign, which I would be fine with, direct sequels aren't always what they're made out to be, but I hope very much so, more than anything, that Infusion at the very least elaborates on some of the cliffhanger stuff that was left at the end of this campaign. But beyond that, I'm actually very confident in Stygian Software to make even more great games in this UnderRail setting that they've worked so hard on, and I'm excited to see more. Now, a big portion of the work they're doing for Infusion is updating their own graphic engine, making real-time 3D models to work with all of their pre-rendered backgrounds, etc. But basically, their big goal is to make huge improvements to the engine and stuff that runs UnderRail, that they've wanted to make, but, without fundamentally breaking the game, they couldn't. But with this new title, they can actually make those changes, and that's a big part of what they're working on according to their devlogs. And simply because of the great job that they did with UnderRail and the amount of support that this game got, I'm very interested in seeing what they do with this Infusion title, and hopefully it will answer some of the questions that UnderRail left me with. But there you go, guys, just a bit of news about a small send-off of sorts for UnderRail, as well as looking forward to the new project, which truthfully is likely still a couple years away at least, I would say. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. It really does help out. I see the steady increase of metrics behind the scenes, so truly thank you. May you wander in wisdom, and have an amazing day.